5.3 is good. Not as good as the 6.2 though. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, we're gonna be going over a base model Yukon with a 9-passenger layout. First and foremost, so a huge shout out and thank you to National GMC for giving me some time with this Yukon. Check out their inventory in the description down below. Let's get into the video. So under the hood, we have a naturally aspirated 5.3 liter V8 that goes through a 10-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy is 14 around town and then 19 on the highway, with power outputs being 355 horsepower and then 383 pound-feet of torque. Let's go over the front end of this Yukon. First off, I love the contrast between the white and the black elements on this. I think it looks really good. So with the white paint, the body lines here on the hood are accentuated quite a bit. And then coming down below, notice how we have the LED accent lighting with the LED lights. And then you've got the fog lights down below that with the chrome trim. Tons of chrome trim around the grille, but notice the rest of the grille has been blacked out. You've got the massive GMC logo there in the center, parking sensors down below. And overall, again, even though this is a base model, it still looks really good from a front end perspective. Coming on the side here, we've got two 75mm tires wrapped around 20-inch wheels in the front and over in the rear as well. And then you can see the design here on the wheels themselves looks really good. Again, with the chrome accenting on the rest of the body, it all matches and all ties in together. We have our GMC logo here on the side with the Yukon badge just down below. Notice how the bottom of the mirror is blacked out to kind of go with the rest of the theme of this Yukon. We have the chrome trim around the windows. We have a side step there. It's kind of dark, so it's hard to see. But anyways, there's your full side view. So here's our key fob for this Yukon. You've got the GMC logo there on the back. We have our unlock, lock, remote start, and then the opening here for the hatch. So just press that twice, or rather the window, not the hatch. My bad. Anyways, that'll open up the window. You guys can see that. And then to close it, all you have to do is just put it back down. Now, as for the hatch, it's actually hydraulic. So you have to open it up with your hand, which isn't a bad thing. Now popping here to the rear, notice how we've got some storage space under here. And since this is the regular version, not the XL, you guys can see pretty small here in this area. But with the third row folded down, you've got quite a bit of space. And then notice how we have a full power outlet here in the back. And other than that, that's pretty much everything for the rear. So yeah. Now here is the rest of the rear. We've got the black pillar, and then notice how we have the C-shaped lights here on the back. SLE badge, you've got the Yukon badge, parking sensors along the bottom. Now, so everything else is blacked out. This is the bezel covering the receiver hitch. And I mean, from an outside perspective, other than the fact that the wheels aren't necessarily as fancy as the loaded up models, it looks pretty much like a loaded up Yukon. Now here is the door panel in the rear. Notice how we have the leather trim here and then just down below with the wood trim. We've got our door handle lock and unlock, and then you can see the speaker for the sound system looks really good. Now we've got the bench seat here because again this is a 9-passenger, so you guys can see cloth seats for the second row. You've got all the adjustments on the seats and we'll pop in. You guys can see leg room there. Headroom, and notice that this is the seat for the front. We'll go over that later. Climate controls are down below here. You guys can see you've got some charging ports, and we have another outlet. So you have 2 full outlets so far, which is pretty cool. And then you got the cup holders. Now I've popped into the third row of many a Yukon in my day. You can fit adults back there comfortably. This has 3 seats across. The other 2 are folded down. So we have 3 seats here, 3 seats here, and then 3 seats at the front. Let's head to the front. Now here's the door panel at the front. So again, you guys can see all of the padding here for the front. And then we've got all of our window controls, the mirror adjustments, and there's a quick look at the mirror itself. And then here are the seats at the front. So again, we've got the cloth. You can see the design here in the center with the bolstering just down below. And then you do have power adjustments right there. And then here's the pedal layout with the hood release. Got our light controls right here with the fog lights. We've got our drive mode select right next to it. We've got our drive line select right here. And then we have this for our lane departure, stability control, the parking sensors, the outlets. The steering wheel is manually adjustable, and there's where we'll look before we pop in. So here's the steering wheel in the Yukon. We've got really nice leather all around the steering wheel with the darker stitching here off to the side. Voice command, phone controls for the center stack. We have this for the cruise control. Radio controls are on the back. We have our turn signal / windshield wiper stock. And, well, that's all for the steering wheel. Now, since this is a 2022, we have all of the drive modes we can go through. So notice we have the sport, off-road, tow haul, and then we have our normal mode. as well, and that's kind of like the little animation for that. And then there is also basically a terrain mode as well, which will help out with climbing and crawling and all that if you ever take this off-road. I assume whoever gets this probably won't be taking off-road, but the new digital gauge cluster looks fantastic. Again, this being a base model, it kind of like brings up just the interior and just makes this feel a lot more premium. Now here's the center infotainment system. First off, we're going to pop it into reverse. You can see the backup camera with trajectory lines that do turn with the steering wheel. Resolution on that is great. Moving on from that to the rest of the infotainment system. This is the newer version of the infotainment system for the GMC Yukon, so response time on it is great. It's integrated a little bit different. It's not like a part of the dash, now it's kind of like plopped on, so it just looks a little bit different than before. And even with the plastic on top of it, it responds really well. But just like before, it's pretty self-explanatory in terms of how to use it. It's got shortcut buttons down below, which I'll show you guys in just a moment. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think it's a good infotainment system. We have our transmission selector here off to the side, just like before. Pull for reverse and drive, and then you push in for park and neutral. We have our analog controls for the radio and with the shortcut buttons. Climate controls here for the front, and notice you can control the rear climate with that. And then we've got the charging area right here. And like I said, this one has the bench seat, so you've got the seat here in the center. Now we obviously have the drive line hump, so this seat is pretty much reserved for kids, I will say that. And then another 12 volt, so got quite a bit of charging ports. There's the glove box. Nice padding here on the part in front of the glove box, and then here on the top of the dash as well. It actually looks pretty premium here from an interior perspective. Just a traditional mirror. Not a bunch happening here at the top, though. It's kind of hard to see because of the lighting. But it does have a darker colored headliner because you can't see anything. But yeah, it's the interior. Now here's the window sticker on this Yukon SLE. Here is all of the standard equipment. So freeze the frame if you're going to read all of that. And then you guys can see the optional equipment on this particular one. But there's our total price, $57,545. And wait for it, wait for it. Let's take it out and see how it drives. So setting off here in this Yukon SLE, and this is actually the first time I've ever driven a base model Yukon. So this doesn't have anything that's fancy from a suspension standpoint. No air suspension, no MagneRide, nothing. So it'll be interesting to see how this drives compared to a loaded up Yukon with all these suspension goodies, because I just drove a Denali XL before this. 5.3 is good. Not as good as the 6.2 though. The 6.2 definitely accelerates quite a bit quicker than this. But again, this is no slouch. It still gets up and moves. From a suspension standpoint, you can feel a difference, especially when you go over bumps. This is still comfortable, still has a luxury car feel, but it's not the same as a Yukon with the MagneRide and the air suspension, so there's definitely a difference there. But yeah, this 5.3 is enough. I mean, especially for getting around town and passing power on the highway. Yeah, this is fine. So this is more than enough from a power perspective. And I feel like there's also a handling difference. It seems like this doesn't handle quite as good. So yeah, you actually do get something when you spend more on that trick suspension. But aside from that, let's get into selling things up here with this base model and determine whether or not you should actually purchase one. So first off, you know, from an exterior aesthetics perspective, I think this looks just as good as the loaded up Yukons. So there's not really a benefit to getting a loaded up one from an exterior aesthetics perspective. That's just my personal opinion. Interior wise, the loaded up ones have a much nicer interior. This still has, like, you know, nice stuff on the door panel and the dash and everything, but the seats are not nearly as comfortable as what you get in like a Denali, for example. I can tell that from sitting in them back to back. These seats are nice, but they're not Denali seats, that's for sure. And then aside from that, in terms of the driving, yeah, you do lose a few things. But if you're just looking for like a people mover, I mean, I can't think of anything else that's, you know, as good as this, you know, in terms of like having a nice infotainment system. It's got a cool digital gauge cluster, relatively nice interior, good powertrain, under $60,000, 9-passenger vehicle. Pretty crazy. So if that's what you're looking for, National GMC has one, and this thing's it's pretty unique. Probably will never see one of these again. That's going to sum things up for our video on this 2022 GMC Yukon SLE. Again, a huge shout out and thank you to National GMC for giving me some time with the SLE. Check out the inventory in the description down below. I'll see all of you in the next video.